Hey, Scott Spears back with you on this Tuesday morning, June the 26th, 2012, 7:59 in the a.m. Currently 56 degrees and sunny skies here in Marion. Winds are currently calm. Humidity way down from where it was earlier on, 72%. Visibility currently unlimited. Joined in studio by our regular Tuesday morning guest, 40th Treasurer of the United States, Mary Ellen Withrow, and co-host this week, legendary comedian Gallagher. What a pair we have on this Tuesday morning.
We're sort of the odd couple.
You know what? If there were two people who were polar opposites in their careers, this would be it, right here.
We were talking about a time when I had a lot of money, and you were in charge of a lot of money. You were in charge of the money, and so that's kind of a common thing.
You probably, when you were dropping that 25 G's on that ring,
yeah,
some of those dollars probably had Mary Ellen's signature on them.
Oh, yeah.
Now, were you there when they changed the money so that the counterfeiters couldn't counterfeit it?
Yes, I was. They hadn't changed the money since 1928 or 29, and it was a big deal. I mean, we had meetings after meetings about it, and finally it was released, and then each bill, I mean, we started with the $100 bill, and then maybe a year later the 50, and then a year later the 20, and a year later the 10, and finally the 5. And it was exciting.
But did you ever have a meeting where they said, we've got to do something about this, we're having too much counterfeiting? Did a lot of meetings precede that change?
That's right. Really, that was before I got there. That was the Secret Service, very concerned about the amount of counterfeiting that was going on. And they had, certain names for different counterfeits that were out there. It was always very interesting meetings.
They were interesting meetings, and they've named the different counterfeiters by the type of bill that they made, or maybe a mistake that they would make on the bill. I saw a report on TV where this guy had learned how to counterfeit the bills, and he used 2 pieces of paper from a phone book. He found that when you came over that with that yellow marker, that it colored it the right way. Then he found that if he put the picture of the watermark between the 2 pieces of paper, when he glued them together, it appeared as though the watermark was in it. Now, how he did the metal strip, I don't know. But he was so proud of the fact that he was able to handle all of the different ways that you put into the bill to keep a counterfeiter from counterfeiting, and then and made a perfectly counterfeit bill using telephone paper. I guess I shouldn't be telling everybody on the radio.
I don't see how he could use telephone paper, though, because...
It's yellow?
No, because it doesn't have the right feel. You're talking about 75% cotton and 25% linen.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
75%, it feels like a garment.
Yeah,
cotton,
it is. It's rag.
And then 25%
linen.
Linen?
Yes.
It's a rag.
Right.
We all are using rags. Now, do you think, though, that money will be obsolete as everybody goes to an electronic way of, you just use your phone. You just go by at Starbucks, and somehow they use their phone and put it on their...
See, but I don't like that, because I think you're getting into the electronic voting machines now, and you see all the trouble we've had with that. Every time you go all electronic, things start to go downhill.
Yeah.
Then you bought a cup of coffee for $2, but it rang up on your receipt there for $200.
Yeah.
That's not good. If you hand somebody a $20 bill, you know you're getting 18 back.
There's all sorts of studies been done on that. It shows that people trust money the most of all. It's the most trusted.
Even above people. They trust money.
I don't think so. I think still people are way up there. But the fact that you have more things go wrong with checks and electronics than you do with the real money.
But I found out that I couldn't go into the American Express office and put some cash down on my American Express credit card because they wouldn't accept cash at the American Express office. Isn't that
What
nutty?
did you have to pay with?
You have to write them a check.
What if it bounces?
I don't know. I just
They don't
found
they
that-
don't want the
I
money that
found
they can
that
put
out.
in the drawer.
Yeah. Well, while I'm on the road, I need my credit card to work for renting cars and flying in planes and buying rings. And so sometimes I'm paid in cash, and I wanted to just put it down on my credit card because I can't rent a car with cash. This is another place that they just don't want to see it. You can't walk into the car rental with cash.
Yeah. It's like pulling up to a gas station and they won't take $100 bills. I think there should be a law against that because it's our money, it's the government's money.
A law against that
Yeah.
from a former treasurer of
Well,
the United
right.
States
Well, what do you think?
refusing our currency. Do you know why it is? Because they're run by people from a different country.
That could be.
You know, Mary Ellen, I know you listen from time to time. What did you think of Governor Ventura yesterday?
You know, I had to miss that. I was on my way to Columbus, so I didn't hear him.
Oh, you went to our state's capital yesterday. And what business did you have there? Did you meet with the governor?
No, I didn't meet with the governor. My husband had some stitches taken out.
Oh.
No, I'd love to see Mary Ellen meet with the governor, though. I would love to put a camera in that room when that conversation happened.
Mary Ellen, have you heard about my statewide program to organize undecided voters? Because Ohio is a swing state, and if we indeed are going to decide the presidential election,
Right.
because the Democrats and the Republicans already know who they're going to vote for. So it's going to be the undecided.
Right.
And this could be as much as 1/3 of our voting
Right.
population right now. If they were organized, they could demand something for Ohio from the candidate
Right.
instead of giving them carte blanche. Here you go. We're going to give you. Well, nobody else gets something for nothing.
What could we demand? What would be a good thing?
A Honda plant.
Oh, we've got that.
I know. Well, we need another one. Don't they employ a lot? That's where I got the idea. I mean, something that's jobs. We need a jobs program. Look
yeah.
at all these secretaries of, all these plants, defense plants in South Carolina, and because that guy from down there was on the Armed Services Committee or something, and they stick those. Or look, we used to make our rocket go up from Florida, but it was controlled from Texas because the president was from Texas, and he wanted those jobs over there in Texas. Did that ever make any sense to you that the rocket went up from Florida, and then they switched control to the Houston Rocket Control Center or whatever? Remember that?
I do. Well, here's
it's all crooked. It's all a bunch of politics, isn't it? Why don't the voters get as crooked as the lobbyists?
Jeez,
There's our one phone caller. We only have this one phone caller.
Well, I tell you what, no, this is a
And they
different
call in during, this is an important question I'm asking a former treasurer of the United States about a statewide problem. We can't take a call now.
Well, we have to. It rang. Caller, are you there?
Yes, I am.
Go right ahead.
This is Carol Neidhart, and I wanted to thank your guest. The last time he was in Marion and played the Palace Theater, and I saw him on the street walking down towards the Palace Theater, and I quickly parked my car, told everyone in the car, I'm going to go see Gallagher. And it was him. Introduced myself. He was very gregarious, very good, and he gave me some passes for his program to distribute to the folks at the food pantry that came in, and for them and their family to have a little enjoyment, a little fun, even during bleak times sometimes in our lives. And he was so gracious to do that. So I Xeroxed that. I asked him if I could make copies and distribute them at the food pantry when people came in. And I saw many of them attending the Palace, and they just had such a great time. And that gives, when people laugh, that's hope. That gives people hope, even in problem times like we have. If you can laugh a little bit with your family and have a good evening or a good day, that gives hope, and that's very important. That's a commodity we don't have enough of in our country, but hope. And he made such a big mark in my thoughts. And he was also talking about Logan Tire, and they gave some prizes away, and it was the best fund that we've had in a long time, and I want to appreciate. I do appreciate that, and so much. And I'm glad he's back in Marion. And how does that happen? So thank you very kindly.
Wait a second, Kara. Before you get off the air, we want to clarify something here. Did you go to that show that Gallagher was at?
Oh, you bet.
Okay, now hold on. Now don't sway either way. Did he smash a watermelon that night on stage?
No.
There you go. I told the people yesterday he did not smash a watermelon, and they all said yes. And you even agreed with him. You said yes, you did. I told you didn't.
No.
No, you didn't.
But it was jam-packed. It was just fun. But our friends at Logan Tire, we've laughed and laughed, and they did a good thing with helping with a prize. And it was so fun. He really was a very erudite person. He has a good handle on lots of things. He's a thinker.
Well, what about my idea of organizing the undecided voters? I'm going to start a gang. It'll have a motorcycle gang theme, and so we're going to make a patch. So you can patch in and wear this patch. Isn't that fun? It's all about clothes. You know, a lot of people, they take up karate really just to wear those pajamas. And so I think it'll be fun to pretend we're in I'm having Celeste, that tattoo artist, to come up with our design.
I can't wait to see it.
I know it. I think she said
I'm glad you can pretend.
But what about you? Would you be in my... have you already decided? Now, don't tell me who you're voting for. I just want to know if you've decided or not.
What makes you think that people that can't commit, even at this time, that they will commit to a non-committal group?
Oh, I'm not saying we have to vote for the candidate who gives us something. I'm just saying let's make them give us something, because we can't control what people do in the voting booth.
Oh, right. Well, I think it's...
they need to think about Ohio. If Ohio decides the election, why wouldn't we get something special? Because we represent America with so many jobs in industry and in agriculture. It's not like an industrial like Michigan, it's got mostly industrial jobs, or Iowa that just has agricultural. We're a kind of a combination of Michigan and Iowa, and we deserve something for it.
Well, the reward is be American, and that's the most important thing.
Not if we don't get jobs. It's all about, we need an overall national strategy for our economy. We can't reward people for leaving the country and putting jobs somewhere else, or pay other countries for... I've heard there's programs where somehow a company in another country can be paid for putting our people out of business. I mean, it's just crazy. I don't get it. But I don't want to be president.
And then another thing, I think that all young people, before they get started with life, they need to have a year of national service. Boys and girls, men and women alike. And everyone needs to have a stake in our country.
And the ones that do get elected can't do it forever. We've got to have term limits something, because they can't have a career as a representative. You know, that's the problem when they get so old and then they get so powerful on these committees, and then they get all those, like defense things I mentioned down in South Carolina. It's just crazy that there's so much defense, in one little state in the South, because the head of I wonder who that guy was. Do you remember?
I don't remember that.
No, he got to be really old, and they kept voting him in because he was powerful. You just end up with roots.
Well, see, I think
you can't get rid of these incumbents.
I think Strom Thurmond was asleep the last 30 years.
Wasn't that him?
Was that him?
No, he was from the Carolinas, wasn't he? Yeah.
Well, that's what we're talking about, is South Carolina.
I thought you were talking about Texas.
I was. Yeah. Oh, it happens all around, but Ohio doesn't get enough.
He was like 101.
Yeah.
Still in Congress.
I know.
Now, how effective could he have been?
Well, most of it comes from your senators and your representatives in their requests in the bills that they put in. And
that's another thing. That earmarking thing is ridiculous. How any politician can say they're going to Washington to cut down on spending and then participate in this ridiculous putting up of statues and parks and roads to nowhere just because they want to stick it in a highway bill. And we pay for it because there's just so much money floating around in that bill that they're not going to read it and put, they're selling the vote. If politicians can sell their vote, why can't the voters? That's what I'm saying. I know people will say you can't demand something from a candidate for the undecideds to vote, but it happens all the time.
Well, lobbyists do it.
Lobbyists, everybody's doing it, but the stupid voters, we get screwed all the time. Can I say that on a...
That's okay, but just don't say it too much.
No.
That's why we need national services. Our young people need to be educated so that they will not put up...
Well, they won't like the government that they discover that we have. It's just ridiculous.
We need to have government, but we need to have good government. And they... now, longevity, Mary Ellen Withrow, her husband, I carried the mail to him so he could make his deliveries for his rural route. And I also worked at Elgin High School and as an art instructor. And she was kind of my boss on the board of the school board. She was our county treasurer. She was our state treasurer, and then our national treasurer. What a good citizen she has been, and delivering good service all these years to so many levels of our government. And I want to thank Mr. Gallagher for being here and Scott for sponsoring it. And Mary Ellen, hello, and I'll give my mom your regards. She's part of the Mary Ellen Club. My mother's Mary Ellen also.
Thank you so much, Carol.
So you wondered what we had in common, and it's this guy.
It is. This guy
He was very complimentary to both of us.
Even to me.
Even to you.
Even to me. I was very happy with it.
He's really stretching.
His mother's name is Mary Ellen, so we have a bond.
There you go.
Yeah.
Yep.
Hey, thank you.
And it's do good, have a good day, and thank
Mary
you so
Ellen,
much.
Take care.
Thank you.
Mary Ellen, would you organize a club of undecided voters? Wouldn't that be a good thing?
Well, no, I don't want to organize a group of
Why? Then you'll get something for your club for voting for whichever candidate you decide on.
I tell you what, I think we ought to organize the Democratic Party better so that we get them in the Democratic Party. And
but then the Democrats will get what they want, and then the undecided people who joined with them will get nothing for it. You see, the undecided is 1/3 right now. They have as many votes as either one of the major parties. So why join the major party if you're a major party yourself? All they lack is the organization.
Well, what we get is the candidates that we want.
Oh, yeah?
See?
Yeah.
That's what the objective is.
Well, let me tell you what Obama just did. He just acted like Bush and a Republican with this thing about executive privilege. Why wouldn't the government want us to be able to look at all the documents and know what they did that was crazy? That seems just like the Republicans do, doesn't it? I was so embarrassed for the Democrats when he pulled that.
I think you're right.
Mary Ellen's not going to say anything about it.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Well, the president recently, instead of giving the documents about selling those guns to the Mexican drug lords just to follow where the guns went, has decided not to give the documents to the Congress and instead call up an executive privilege and say those documents are part of the executive branch and we don't want you to see them. So why wouldn't he want us to see them? Because there's something embarrassing in there and it's an election year, and that's just like something Bush would have done and the Republicans, right? Yes.
You're talking about the Attorney General being subpoenaed.
Right.
Yeah. Well,
why doesn't he just give the documents and be transparent? And if he made mistakes, we want to know about it. He's our public servant.
He may be our public servant, but he has certain things that maybe are not the way to go.
Yeah, that's what we're saying.
Well, I know you're saying that, but I have always felt that they need to make the decisions on what should be released and what shouldn't be released, and sometimes things shouldn't be revealed that's in the
Look, it was a crazy, nutty thing to give the Mexicans all these guns just to see where the guns went, and then one of the guns eventually kills one of our border guys. That's what we want to know about. It's the same as Ollie North running that operation in the basement of the White House, and we don't know about it. They're out of control, and our Democratic institution here should be run by the people, and the people should have the final say as to whether or not we like what's going on, and no secrecy, and we want transparency in government. Don't I sound like a candidate?
Yeah, but hold on. How do we know, if we haven't seen the documents, that that's what's in the documents? Who has released this?
Because we're old enough to know if they don't want us to see it, something's in there.
Yeah, but how do we know that's what's in there?
Well, just show us.
Well, I understand that, but you can invoke executive...
I'm from Florida. They have this sunshine law that you have to be able to see everything. Don't
we have that in
everywhere?
Ohio. I think we have that in Ohio.
Yeah,
Well,
everybody. I think everybody has.
You
the
know what,
sunshine law.
You turned into a politician just now. You're talking, like you're in the administration, and you're giving excuses why we shouldn't see these documents.
Well,
You did. You turned from this jolly lady into this politician that talks two ways.
There's certain things that do not need to be told that go on in government. I'm not kidding you.
Oh, I know.
Yeah, and let the judgment be whether that is released or not. There's a lot of things that are not told to the public that really shouldn't
in totalitarian regimes. But this is an open democracy.
Well, no, I disagree with that. I think that's wrong. I don't think it is a totalitarian, because here's the thing. For example, when President Bush was in office, he took away habeas corpus. Jesse Ventura talked about that yesterday.
Yeah.
Still has not been reinstated.
Yeah.
Why hasn't it been reinstated? Nobody reports on that. Nobody knows anything about that. You have Fox News out here, which is watched by more people than any other news organization. They don't report anything. People don't want to switch the channel. Fox News wants to beat up on Obama. That's why this is a big story, as much as MSNBC wants to beat up on Romney and the Bushes. The problem is that Fox News has the bigger audience, and they have the more money right now. If it were the other way, that would be the case, but it's not. Something very interesting was that when Bush was president, now we know that he sent a memo out right after September 11th and said, how can we wiretap people without being prosecuted for it? But we didn't find that out till long after he was gone. At least Obama has had the courtesy to say, hey, you know what? I do have it. I'm invoking executive privilege. I'm not going to show it to you because it is an election year. They will use it against me. Bush didn't say a thing. He didn't even say this existed. He just told us we were all scared to death because we were going to get bombed again, and if you don't keep me in here, if you change in midstream, we're going to be in trouble. My God, he attacked a Vietnam vet, Kerry, and made him look like a fool, and Kerry couldn't come back at him because it was attacking the man who saved us on 9/11 at the time. I think there is transparency in this administration far more than there was in the Bush administration. I think comparing those two is terrible. The number of press conferences Bush gave is so minute to the ones that Obama gives. At least he allows himself to be questioned.
I've never voted.
What?
I've never voted.
You've never voted?
No.
Well, why are you giving all this information out about everything?
It just wastes a good day off from work.
No. I just want a little
Here's what
soliloquy
I
there.
do.
I'm sorry, but I had to go into that.
Here's what I do. I find somebody that's going to vote the opposite of me, and we both go fishing.
And that's
It
cancels each
doesn't,
other out.
Right. It doesn't change anything. They don't want me to waste a day standing in line. I just find somebody that's going to vote the opposite of me because I'm never in love with either of these candidates. Gosh, I wish we had some way of getting qualified people. But the goofy ones go into politics who don't seem to be able to make it in business, and they're all about their hair. I don't think we've ever elected a bald guy president. They all have these, they're tall. Do you know that only 7% of the executives are over 6 feet tall in the population? But if you, in executive world, 14% of the executives, twice as many tall guys get the job at an office, in the corner office, just because they're tall or their hair is good. It's ridiculous the way the women run a business. If you want something done, you don't call the boss. You call the secretary, or you call people in the secretarial pool who know what's going on, right? And but they never run the country. They never run, or they're not CEOs. Women have had the right to be the CEO of a company and break the glass wall for decades, and we've got like two, Carly Fiorino and that lady that was running eBay that's doing a terrible job over at Hewlett-Packard now and is firing everybody as if that's some answer. We need more jobs, not less. Hewlett-Packard should be thinking of a new product that they can make, not saying we don't know what we're doing and we're going to quit.
Well, I'll tell you this. I think women, and I'm going to make a big statement here, women should run this country.
I was kind of saying that.
I was going to agree with you.
I'm just saying that qualified people never run. They're always goofy folks that couldn't make it in any other area because they have a name. Why would so many people who are related to somebody else that was in politics be elected? The junior guy always gets elected. I think there was one from Indiana, wasn't there?
That happens. That happens, but it's not always.
It's all because they have a name and they're tied in with the party. You know, that's what it is. It's never about. They ought to take a test. There ought to be a test. If you have to take a test, SAT, to graduate from college or get into college or whatever, they ought to take one to. We get goofballs running, and we don't find out until after they're in office, and everybody always says, well, how long is 4 years? Oh, gosh, we got to get rid of this one.
Now, are we talking about...
Any of them. They're all a bunch of nuts, aren't they? We never...
Politicians?
Oh, they never can run. Did they come up with dynamic ideas that make America a winner? No, they never do. They do selfish little things that waste money.
I really resent that.
Well...
I'm a politician.
Yeah.
And you're really talking bad about me.
And all of them.
On the radio. I've had a lot of good ideas that have worked well. And I want to ask you, do you think that if women were in charge, they would go for tall women?
I don't know about that part.
No, I got to disagree with you, too, on this. I don't believe that every politician is a crook and self-centered. I really don't believe that.
Who was
at all.
that Texas guy that had EDS, Electronic Data Systems, and tried to get General Motors to put electronics in the cars? And they bothered he bothered him so much they paid him to get off, and he ruined the election. But he really was the better candidate because he knows how to run a business. Ross Perot. See, when you get a qualified, successful businessman as one of the candidates, they get rid of him, and they get some goofball that, can't do anything. I think in the Bush family, Jeb was the better politician, but he wasn't as friendly, the kind of guy you'd want to have a beer with, and so we went. And George raised more money in Texas, and so money and name, that was the qualification to be president.
But for him, but not for everybody. I mean, our last governor, Strickland, what name did he have when he came in? None. There was not a senior Strickland who was in government. You can go Charles Rangel, who's made his own name in New York. There, what was his name? His parents weren't in, and he was African American during a time when there was separate but equal. I don't think everybody comes in that way. I think grouping everybody is wrong. Sure, there have been the George W. Bushes. Sure, there have been the Adams family. But I don't think it's always the case.
What about that goofy guy from Indiana that was the vice president, and nobody really wanted him to be the president? But they only went with him because he represented the Midwest, and that's a silly reason to have a vice president, a heartbeat away from being in charge of everything, and everybody made fun of him. He was a joke. We had a joke for a vice president, but it made political sense.
Well, I think everybody...
defend that decision.
I'm not going to defend Dan Quayle because I do believe people thought he was a joke when he couldn't spell
potato. Well, how
potato.
could he be the second person on the ticket then?
How could Sarah Palin be the second person on the ticket?
Yeah.
But I don't think that makes other vice presidents unqualified.
So you say if Sarah was ugly, she probably wouldn't have been considered. It was all about being pretty.
I don't know why she was even considered in the first place. I have no idea what he was thinking.
Pretty.
Did it help him?
I don't know.
He didn't do very well.
She's still around, and he's gone.
Why? But what was her name value? She had no name value.
Mm-hmm.
Her parents weren't politicians. But now she's the biggest star in the Republican Party.
Right, and her daughter talks about abstinence and gets pregnant. This is the kind of
But we love her. We love her in America.
No, we're just incompetent. I can't believe these other countries don't look at us and just figure that we're easy to beat because we're so silly. We're just we get in our own way. We have no national strategy for success like the Japanese and the Israelis. Their government works with their business, not against it.
Well, what do?
We make it hard on the I was in Iowa. When I ran for governor of California, I was in Iowa, and I couldn't sell tickets in Dubuque. And they said because they're closing the plant in Galesburg. And I went there and discovered that they were closing the Maytag plant, and they were going to close the one in the Amana plant in Iowa, but when the candidates weren't there. And here are these candidates running around talking about jobs. But who was really in charge of jobs was the CEO of Maytag, who bought Amana and now has been purchased by Whirlpool. And luckily for us, I'm hoping Whirlpool is doing a better job than sending all those jobs from Galesburg down to McAllen, Texas, across the border into those mercados. So I went down there and I discovered that they put the hourly rate on the outside of the building, and that the workers work one day at a time and look to see what rate they want to get. And then, is that any way to build a dependability product?
Wait a second. I want to ask you this. When Jesse Ventura...
I do research.
But hold on.
These candidates don't even understand the economy.
I don't believe that's true either. I really don't.
Well, why would they run around saying we've got to have jobs when under their nose? I went to the Des Moines Register, and I said to the editor there, this guy is going to close the Amana plant as soon as these candidates are gone. Why don't you mention that? This is a scandal. He's closed the Galesburg plant. It's hurting the economy so bad they can feel it in Dubuque. They said because they buy newspaper ads.
Exactly.
I said, is your editorial page for sale?
That's not a political problem. That's a media problem, because media is making money now.
It's an overall scandal that we don't have a strategy, and that everybody's in it for money or their own thing and not the good of the country in general.
Well, let me ask you this, though. Yesterday we talked very seriously with Governor Ventura, and at the end of that, when we were talking about the airplane strike, I said, Governor, you need to say it. You need to be the figurehead. I even turned to you. I said, Gallagher, you need to say it. You need to be the figurehead.
Yeah.
You both said, no, we don't need a figurehead. The stupid people need to get out. Okay, that's fine. And now, wait a second. Now, why do we have to put the blame on the one politician, the one man? Why can't the people uprise? If the people in that plant don't want it closed, they need to go picket. They need to go to the paper. They need to write letters. They need to take their money.
You know what I did? I said, and it was at Labor Day, I said, let's explode an appliance in the town square for Labor Day. And the fire department wouldn't give us the permit, even though it didn't involve fire. It was just going to be air pressure. I had hired a special effects company out of Chicago to come there, because I understand the media. They would cover an explosion because it's quick and easy. You have to think about children when you think about the media, and they would like that. And they said, we don't want that here. And I said, it's because you have a job that's going to be paid for even if the plant is closed. You're the fireman. But the city is losing. And if you go to Galesburg now, you'll discover it's just a bunch of places for old people. That's the only industry they have, is old people in houses and taking care of them. We've lost our industrial base there. And it's the biggest city between Chicago and the Quad Cities area gets blown away, and nobody has anything to say about it. We don't have a strategy. I bet you there's plenty of times that you sat at a meeting and listened to these men talking and said to yourself, my God, they're idiots. And this strategy can't work. But because you feel you are part of that party, and and you're calling yourself a politician like the rest of them, you don't want to say that. But I know on the inside, I worked in many administrations. I worked for Claude Kirk, the first Republican governor of Florida after Reconstruction. And my job was to go around the state talking to college students who were working for the state for the summer and find out stuff, because he had no other communications. They were all Democrats in the state and weren't going to tell the governor anything. So I was a spy. I was actually hired as a spy, and I found out some really crazy, nutty stuff. I'm not just, coming up. I'm 65 years old, going to be 66. I'm not saying this after just a short study. I'm a national person. I go to all the states. I hear all the problems. I know America better than any of these politicians that are running. If you have to tell people a joke and have them laugh, it's based on their fears, their religion, their prejudices, I know people better than a politician will.
Now, hold on. Now, Mary Ellen, I want you to respond to that. Now, be fair here.
Yes, well, back to there's been a lot said here before.
Yes, it was a big bundle.
Yeah, I'm going to go back. My question is, I think you should vote. Number one, you have all these feelings, and you're not expressing them. Only right now you're expressing them, but you need to vote to let your message be heard. And I want to ask about you running for the governor of California. Did you run for the governor of California?
I got 16th.
16th? Was that when Schwarzenegger ran?
Yeah.
Yeah, uh-huh. Well, I'm very curious. I'm really...
I got 5,000 votes. A topless dancer got 12,000 votes. I didn't beat one of her boobs.
Oh, geez. Okay, keep going, Mary Ellen.
Oh, okay.
Keep
Well...
going. I have to allocate the time now.
Now back to having sat in meetings where I didn't agree with what they were talking about. If I didn't agree with what they were talking about, I said so. I think you really should get started voting and expressing yourself in that way, because that's our privilege, and you don't want to let that go.
It's been ruined by the major parties by giving us candidates that are so tied into the goofy situation that we've got that it won't change anything. Voting is just a cover, a cloud, a smoke screen for making people think they're really participating when we're not getting any change or any difference. Earmarks is the silliest thing ever. If money is important to people, sticking in your local interest to build a statue or a road just because they need your vote to pass the highway bill is the most ridiculous situation, and you cannot stop earmarks. And it's stupid for both parties, and neither one wants to do it because they want to look good locally, come back to town and take a picture standing in front of the statue and tell them that they did something for the community. And all they did was, all of them, steal from the pot and cause taxes to go up.
But now go ahead, Mary
They've
Ellen.
done away with earmarks.
Oh, really?
Well, they've tried to.
Yeah. There's a lot of difference between tried to and done away.
Well, I mean... Well, fill me in on where the earmarks are right now.
They're in every bill that needs to have a majority, and they ask them what they want, and then they tell them the silly thing they want from their local, their district, and they stick it in. What do you think I know about earmarks for? Or the fact that after working for the government, they go to work for a defense contractor and use their contacts then to have an advantage for the contractor. It's called the revolving door, and working for the government is just the beginning of working for a multi-million-dollar company that makes money from the government. That's a silly situation. Also, that shouldn't happen. There should be a law against anybody working for a company that does business with the government for more than like 5 years. They go almost immediately to work for General Dynamics, Lockheed, or something else. It's just everybody's at the trough. All the pigs are getting fat, and it's finally hurt the economy.
But how do you, when you look at because we're going to talk presidential here, because local won't make any sense for what we're talking about now, because we are talking national politics.
Mm-hmm.
If we're talking about the presidential election now,
Yeah.
that's going to come up in 5 months, President Obama, and I'm not defending either side here. I'm trying to be as down in the middle as I can.
That's why I can vote. If I don't vote, then nobody can say I'm partisan.
But
I'm a comedian, and I'm criticizing both sides equally.
But how can you, if President Obama does come out and say, I support gay marriage, if President Obama does try to get universal health care passed through the Congress and the Senate,
Yeah.
if President Obama does kill Osama bin Laden, if President Obama does end the war to a better degree than anybody else did in Iraq, how can you say that he's the same as Mitt Romney, who on every issue there took the complete opposite side? We needed to stay in Iraq longer. We're going to cut and run. I do not support homosexual same-sex marriage. I do not think you're doing the wrong. I would not have went into Pakistan to get Osama bin Laden because we needed to get clearance there. I'm not a radical. How can you say they're the same? I don't think they are, and I think Obama is out, and certainly, well, Romney, I don't want universal health care. I had it in my own state, but let's leave that up to the states. We don't want it universally. How can you say they're the same?
Because they're both ineffective. No matter what they're talking about, none of these programs are going to be a reality.
Well, right now, the health care will be a reality, unless the Supreme Court strikes it down.
It won't be a reality if we discover, after instigating it, it was so doggone expensive. Right now, 15% of our GDP is paid for Medicare. They predict as high as 30% in the future. We cannot afford to spend 30% of our gross national product taking care of everybody that's sick.
But, you know, in social...
It's not going to work.
But you know
it
what...
may sound really good and make the paper and get votes right now, but it's not a long-term successful. We have to pay off a deficit that we've run up recently, borrowing, and of course the Treasurer would know about this, borrowing money to pay off these, to save these banks and recapitalize the banks. We can't do that every year. There has to be years in which we pay more money in than we borrow, or else we're going to devalue our. This is Greece's problem, is they don't have their own currency to devalue and cheat the people that have loaned them money, which is what we do. We borrow money from the Chinese, then reduce value of our dollar, and end up not paying any interest to the Chinese. That's our game.
But I want to say it, and then I want to come to Mary Ellen for some opinions here. But you know what they said? We had the Great Depression, 1939. By FDR's middle of his term in the 1940s, we had Social Security. The opposition ran against FDR, saying you're going to create a deficit, you're going to create a debt in this country that we're never going to be paid back. There wouldn't be a politician today who would say we need to abolish Social Security. And I think that's going to be the same thing with health care, because I think premiums will go down because we have so much terminal cancer.
But Social Security isn't a good idea. It's made a dependent society, and people, it was only supposed to augment your retirement, not be your total retirement. And that's what it's turned into. So can the government say that everyone who gets old, we're going to support you and take care of your medical bills? We can't, as the older population becomes a larger part of the population itself, and I'm a war baby, I'm part of that, born in 46, the country can't support it unless its economy is strong, and the government isn't run by people. Sometimes there'll be like one doctor who is because most of the representatives in the House and the Senate are lawyers. There'll be one doctor. Well, of course, he gets on the medical committee, and then they defer to him for every question having to do with medicine. Isn't the head of the Democratic Party now a former doctor who...
I think it's still Howard Dean.
Howard Dean.
No, it's not.
No.
Who is the head of the Democratic Party?
I'm trying to remember.
Okay.
Yeah, but for
we'll
a
get
time,
to it. We'll find it.
But that's an example. Howard Dean is a doctor, and so they deferred to him. Why wouldn't all the professions be represented in a House of Representatives? Instead, it's all lawyers. And so,
but who elects those lawyers?
Well, why do we let lawyers choose our medical decisions or aeronautic decisions? You see, McCluskey ended up in charge of whether or not we went to the telescope, the Hubble Space Telescope, because she doesn't know anything about physics. She didn't understand that to look further into space, you have to go into the infrared. And the infrared doesn't show you a picture. But she not liked all the pictures we were getting from the Hubble Space Telescope. So she made NASA go to the Hubble and repair it, even though if you ask scientists what was the right thing to do, they wouldn't say to do that, because we ended up with someone who was not scientific in an area of decision-making and power. And so we went and did the stupid thing.
Mary Ellen, a lot of stuff flying around here.
You think you're talking to somebody who hasn't
done
any research.
Hold on.
I spend all day reading.
I understand. Hold on. Okay.
I don't know where to start.
Pick a place and let's try to find something.
Let's go to the social programs. I think that FDR was responsible for most of the social programs that we had, and I was around, but I wasn't really paying a lot of attention to what was being argued there. But I'm sure that he had a lot of things to overcome to get those social programs through. And they have done a lot of good over the years. And talk to anybody that's a citizen, and any Democrat especially, they do not want to see the social programs done away with. I think that would be a big mistake.
Well, I think you can't do away with the social programs. Did they make people dependent? Probably. But you know what? This is the United States of America, and I think the difference between us and other countries is we don't put our old people on the street. We don't put our poor people on the street. We don't put our indigent on the street. Isn't that what we're about? I thought that's what the United States of America was about, that we don't turn you away. You know, love thy neighbor, all those things.
Sound good until you can't pay for it.
I understand that we're running a national debt up. There's no doubt about that. But the question is, have you noticed since FDR that the life expectancy has went from about 50 years to about 80 years? Have you noticed that old people now can go to doctors when they're in pain? They don't have to live in the street. That when people don't have family, they don't have to live in the gutter. That they can go into a retirement community and live on a fixed income. You know what? If we're in debt, too bad.
Social Security is one of the times in which they bought the vote. People always vote their pocketbook. George Bush was elected when he said no new taxes, and was voted out when he came up with revenue enhancements instead of taxes. And Social Security is just a way in which people act like the lobbyists and the government contractors and want something for their vote.
You know, we've had a lot of talk here. We're going to get somebody else's opinion here on the line. Good morning. You're on WDCM.
Hi. I was just wondering if Gallagher might like to come and hang out at my place of work. I'll give him some money and lunch and stuff.
Why, are you guys going to beat me up?
Have you been listening to the program? Do you want this guy sitting there?
No, we're not going to beat you up. We just think you're awesome, and it would be cool to hang out with you.
Okay, what's your place?
Well, actually, I'm not in Marion, which is a bit problematic, I understand. But I work for Huey's Audiovisual in Worthington.
Huey's Audiovisual in Worthington.
Yep.
Now, would you like to advertise on our station?
I mean, that's...
Are you a retailer?
Yeah, we do rental of production equipment.
Okay. Well, why don't you advertise? Well, in fact, we've just advertised your place. Now, if anybody comes in and says, we heard about your company on 97.5, well, then we want you to keep a list and then advertise. See, one hand washes another. We're in the economy, right?
We are.
We're Republicans. Huey's, how do you spell that? Hughey apostrophe S, audiovisual.
Hughie apostrophe S.
IE apostrophe S. All right. I'm going to stay in town long enough to eventually come over there and hang out with you guys for lunch. Audio Vision. And what town?
It's in Worthington.
Worthington.
Yep.
All right. I'm in favor of the single businessman struggling against the powers in Washington and the state capitol to tax us and put us out of business. Do you have any foreign competition?
We don't have any foreign competition, but we have a lot of large corporations that are competitors of ours.
What's one of them?
Live Technologies. They're one of our competitors. I would just like to say don't use those guys.
What's their first name, the first word you said?
Live.
Live Technologies.
Yeah.
I've never heard of them either. All right, I'm going to make a study of your whole business and then make a report when I come over there.
All right, that sounds great.
All right, thanks a lot.
Thank you, caller. We do need to take a 30-second time out here. We're coming back 28 seconds. WDCM Radio 97.5 FM is proud to be supported by the Magnuson Hotel University Inn, soon to be a Best Western Plus, which is under new management. Soon to be the home of a spa, fitness center, and pool, located at 2117 Marion Mount Gilead Road here in Marion. Telephone number 740-389-1998. Hey, Scott Spears back with you on this Tuesday morning, June the 26th, 2012. It is 8:48. Mary Ellen Withrow in studio with me. How are you doing, Mary Ellen?
Well, I'm hanging in there.
It's been a morning, hasn't it?
Boy, I tell you, we've heard how he feels about everything.
He doesn't hold back.
No,
He doesn't hold back.
He doesn't.
But I don't think there's anything wrong with hearing other opinions.
No, I think we want to hear other opinions. I respect other opinions. I always have, but he doesn't vote. That bothers me. He has all these opinions, and he doesn't voice them in any way other than on the air, I guess.
Well, you know what? We're going to take a call. Maybe this will be for us.
All right, okay.
Good morning. You're on WDCM.
Good morning, Scott.
Yes?
I have a couple questions for both of them, actually.
Okay, we have questions for both Mary Ellen and Gallagher.
Mary Ellen, I'll go first.
Okay, go ahead with Mary Ellen.
Mr. Kasich just passed a new law for third graders. If they fail their reading skill, he's going to hold them back for 2 years. First of all, I think that is a very bad mistake for children of 8, 9 years old. Secondly, what is wrong with the teachers keeping them up to a level or giving them extracurricular reading to do? And third, they have always, and here in Ohio, I know for a fact, and here in Marion, there's been many teachers that didn't want the black mark, if you will, put on some of their records, so whether the children were reading at level or math or whatever, they passed them on to the next year simply because they didn't want that on their record. And you can report on that. Mr. Gallagher, I'll just have to tell you this. I think you're a perfectionist. I can tell little things. You're also a person that likes to be in control, and that's a problem because most of us that want to be in control, we lose it, as you said, to higher power. Also, I think you're a person that's very creative, and I think little things just drive you absolutely over the wall. I think possibly this may have led to some of your health problems because you're more than zany. You use an awful lot of energy. I've watched you on television before. But I also think that you're a man that you think outside of the box. And I will tell you 2 things that I was told years ago. You do not talk religion. You do not talk politics. You do not talk sex. Because no matter what your opinion is, the other person could care less. And so we're fighting a war against the wall. I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm saying that's just the way it is. I appreciate your time. You have a good morning.
Now, I'm going to let Mary Ellen answer here in a second. Gallagher, just respond while that caller's there. She made some personal references and public.
I think she's an astrologer.
You think? You think
Yeah.
that's right on the money?
Oh, yeah.
Too much money or our energy has
caused
caused some health issues?
No, I don't have anything to say. She's exactly right.
She's right on the money.
Yep.
Okay. Mary Ellen?
I'm just trying to remember all of them. Religion, sex, and
Politics.
Yeah.
Mary Ellen, thoughts on Kasich and the third graders?
Well, I really had not heard about that, but it sounds like being held back for 2 years is pretty extreme. They do have to be able to read. You can't go anywhere unless you can read. But I don't see how Kasich can do this. Did he sign a bill, or did it go through the legislature, or what happened here? I'm not aware of it.
I heard a little bit about this, haven't done too much research. He tried to put it through. I don't think it's went through.
Yeah.
The legislature, I think,
Okay.
will strike it down.
I think they will,
Do you know why?
Why is
They
that?
haven't read the bill.
Well, that could be. But you know what? Some
They
people
don't want to
do.
read.
Some
That's
people
what's
do.
the problem with these earmarks. They're hidden in a bill that none of the... You can't tell me now, after your years in politics, that you didn't run across men who hadn't read the bill because it was too big and men in particular, too lazy to read.
Well, I was never in the legislature.
Oh.
I was always running. The only thing that I was in where there were other people involved was on the school board, and I would say that most of those people read everything that was
Have you
going
seen
on.
this on TV where they teach kids to read at a much earlier age, that your brain is ready to... My baby can read. Isn't that what it's called? My baby can read. And they teach them to read at 2 years old and before 2. And the only reason that we wait till 5 to teach them to read is that's how old it takes before they're socially ready to be in a group at the school. But by then, their brain isn't as receptive to a new language. And you got to blame the parents. I mean, how do they end up in third grade and the parents don't know they can't read?
Yeah,
Why
well,
do you
that's
ask
true.
a politician to do? It's part of this entitlement where government does everything.
That's good.
I mean, why would people have to be told they can't have a great big drink? And that all of this sugar is causing their weight problem that then we have to pay for with Medicare. And here they are, getting diabetes. 1/3, I think, are obese in America. Because nobody at school, you don't learn about your body. You don't learn about what's good for it and bad for it and how to eat and what are good foods. No, because our society is based on grease and sugar. You ought to be able to pull off to the side of the road and quickly go through the drive-through and get grease and sugar that gives a kid a high. So if you say you should have some broccoli and they try the broccoli, it doesn't give them an immediate high, so they don't want it. They don't say to themselves, well, it takes a while to digest. They want high glycemic vegetables like corn or carrots, and then the kids say, I don't like it. What does that matter? What kids don't have any idea of what's good or bad, but in our society, they're in charge.
Well, we're going to take a call. Good morning. You're on WDCM.
Good morning, Scott, and the rest of the motley crew.
Yeah, it's been something this morning.
I'm the king of the world.
I know, Gallagher, and I'm only 65.
I'll be 66 in July. She didn't ask me my
you're a
astrological
Cancer.
sign. My astrological sign is Leo, and
You're
that
a
is
Leo.
the personality that I have. I want to be in the spotlight. I want to run
take care
things.
of everyone.
Huh? I
Leos
did.
want to take care of everyone.
I
else.
did. For 40 years, I entertained not only parents, but their kids. And I brought them on stage to smash food and realized that they didn't know how to behave. They were just wild Indians.
Yes, I amen to that. I had two teenagers at the same time at home going to Harding, and I do understand. Now, Mary Ellen,
Yes.
you need a break.
Why? I think Gallagher needs a break.
An even break. Yes, I don't need a break from this.
Look, they're
Yourself
goofy
very
folks.
well. Now, of course, I'm used to be a Republican. Now I'm independent.
Oh, you want to be in my gang of undecided voters? We're calling it the Swinging
That's correct.
Eagles.
Now, of course, I'm a shut-in. I don't walk anymore, and I wish I could. I used to be a dancer, so it made me like mentally off. But anyway, Mary Ellen has spoken in the past of a fear, and I know that fear.
A fear of
And if
what?
she could comment on that briefly.
Yeah, I don't know what you're referring to.
A fear of what?
A fear of something she didn't mention. There is a fear. The government instills a fear in us. I've had it. Well, I'll speak of mine then.
Well, I don't understand that
I
statement
like this.
at all.
This is mysterious. I wish it was
Get it.
midnight.
Well, now, the thing is, no, when the law says, okay, you cannot feed your children alcohol underage. I didn't. But since the one boy was involved, his dad was a sheriff's deputy, a very wonderful man, by the way, and you probably know him. And but I was put in jail because I wouldn't give it to him. Now, there's a fear instilled in you at that point. I don't really call the police anymore for anything. And it's a fear factor, and I think that exists around here, and it's really something that needs to be done away with. But I love you guys. I love the show, and you don't have much time left.
I know. Hey, Kathy, thank you.
But thank you, and thank you, Gallagher, for speaking my mind.
Well, I don't understand the fear question, I got to admit.
I don't either
I don't get it.
because I have not referred to anything other than, well, the only thing that's involved with fear is what the Republican Party tries to impart at every election. There's a lot of fear.
Now, I will say that I'm down the middle here, but you know what? The Republican Party does play more on fear than I think the Democratic Party does.
They certainly do.
I've never really heard the Democratic Party say, if you don't elect me, bad things are going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
I think they just try to get their point out there. I don't know. What do you think, Gallagher? Weigh in on that one.
We always vote for the person because they're less of an evil than the other one.
Right.
The most effective campaign TV ads are picking on the other person they've discovered. You get more votes if you pick on the other guy.
This is important. We're getting Carl's plumbing now that we called
Okay,
earlier.
all
So let's see if we can
right.
get City Hall fixed.
Maybe we can get City Hall fixed.
Good morning. You're on WDCM. Good morning.
Is Gallagher around?
Gallagher's on the line.
This is Carl from Carl's Plumbing and Heating.
Hi, Carl.
What do you need?
We need heating and cooling in the City Hall.
Well, yeah, I saw that in the paper the other day, but that's not going to be that easy. What's happened to the control man that was taking care of all that?
Well, I guess they don't know how to fix the problem, but I did meet some women who had offices in that building. They said they had a fan and a heater. Now this is embarrassing.
I know that made the news here about 2 or 3 weeks ago. You know.
No,
Yeah,
I've only been in town 4 days.
Where else?
I'm all right, Carl. Will you go down to City Hall with me and do
Available right now.
what?
I just don't have any men available. I've got all the work I need for.
I just talked to a woman who was a shut-in. Now, Carl, you're running a plumbing business. You're going to have to be able to come out of the office.
That'd be nice to do if I could.
Carl, what's your address? I'm going to come on down there.
I'm down here at 23 Copeland Avenue.
Okay. I'm going to come down there and talk to you later today.
Well, like I say, I don't know what you're going to talk about. You probably need a whole new control system, which is Johnson Control. We did the job about 40 years ago, and they took over the installation from that time on, and I don't know what's wrong with the thing now.
Now, you see, I've already found something out.
Do what?
I've already found something out. You just spit out some information there that's very important.
Yeah,
They had somebody doing it, somebody else took it over, and now it's falling apart and is broke.
No, this is what happened. You know, when you're in the heating and air conditioning business, we don't do the control work. The control work is a big part of the system.
Yeah.
In other words, if you don't have a good control system, you can't make a compressor come on. You can't do this. You can't have.
That's their problem. The mayor told me. You know, I went around with the mayor.
Yeah,
He told me that
that's not a simple job.
Huh?
That's not a simple job control-wise.
No.
I mean, if you don't have a good control people, we had the best when we first did.
We want to buy the controls. We just don't want to pay for stuff we could do ourselves. But the electronics we'll probably have to buy.
You're not going to be able to do anything of that yourself unless you're a lot smarter than I think you are.
One step at a time. I'm like a shark. I get my teeth in a problem, and then I solve it.
Well, I don't know. It's in the paper the other day where you're talking about spending about $2 million to get it fixed. You want to spend $2 million to get it fixed?
No, but I'm going to find out what it really costs because I think the people that told me don't know what they're talking about.
I haven't seen the installation, but we put the installation about 4
I'm going to call Johnson Controls.
3 years ago.
Well, I'm going to gather information and solve the problem, Carl.
I don't have time to gather the information with you.
I'm going to do it, Carl. I ain't asked you to do nothing. I'm going to come by at lunch when you ain't doing anything anyway.
Are you Gallagher?
Yeah.
You're a hard-nosed fellow to talk with.
I know it.
See you later.
See?
You know what? I'm going to have to go home and take
Mary
a nap
Ellen,
after this show. This has
Mary
been
Ellen,
too difficult.
you think this is the world that's out there.
Oh.
And this is why I'm like I am. Because, see, he wanted to be more hard-nosed than me. But I'm going to be more hard-nosed because I'm going to win. I'm going to get this information.
Don't go down there.
I'm going to go to Johnson Controls.
But you're not going to go see Carl.
I might.
There's going to be a fight at Carl's later
Carl,
on. I'm not going down there to
Carl
referee
can't
the
get
thing.
out of his chair.
Oh,
He
no,
ain't
will
going
you
to beat
stop? We're going to get in trouble.
me. I can tell. Carl.
Gee whiz. They're not going to let us come back tomorrow. You keep this up.
Does Carl, does he run advertising on the show?
You have to talk to Steve about that.
No.
You go down there and sign Carl up. Yeah, you've made a friend already in Carl.
We'll see.
Yeah, okay. Well, oh my goodness. We're ending on, Mary Ellen, Gallagher, have we ended on nice terms? We had a civil conversation. Can we say that we're on nice terms as we end this Tuesday?
Why?
Well-
What if our lives is a long story and this has been one chapter?
But we're happy today. Are we not?
I'm always happy.
And Mary Ellen, you'll be back next week.
I hope so.
You're not going anywhere.
I'll have
Yeah.
a heart attack later today.
Gallagher's going somewhere we don't know where. He'll be back tomorrow.
If I'm back tomorrow, it'll be God's graces and not mine because I've done everything I can to have a heart attack.
Don't you have a heart? Now, see, if you have a heart attack tonight,
I had a heart attack. I thought I was dead. I thought I was done with all of this.
But don't have one
I don't
today.
even like this.
We don't need that. I don't want. You don't want that on your Wikipedia page.
Here I
the
am
last thing you
back
did
in
was this show.
Crazy, illogical world.
Holy don't go down to Carl's. Your blood pressure will go up. We're coming on tomorrow at 6 a.m. Come back with us tomorrow. I don't know who the guest is going to be. It's going to be Gallagher, and we'll add some names.
Let's get Carl.
No, let's not get Carl. We don't need you and Carl down here fighting it out.
All right.
Okay.
The
See you
mayor.
tomorrow.
Let's get the mayor.
He's on vacation.
WD